It's 1 minute to go. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. It's 2 p.m. right now, and we're supposed to begin our call. So welcome, everyone. On behalf of the HDIF team, let me begin by saying thank you so much for all those who decided to join us today in this HDIF COVID-19 response pitching session. I'm Simon Mtabazi, and I'm the Social Innovations Advisor here at HDIF, and I'll be moderating your session today. Everybody that is supposed to be here is here, and we already have 58 participants in this call. They will keep increasing. So to begin off, I would like to welcome our country director, Joseph Manirakiza, to come and give us an opening statement on why we are here and why HDIF is interested in conducting this challenge. Joseph, welcome.
Yeah, thanks, Simon, and thank you everyone for joining us today. As Simon has already introduced, I think this is an honor to host you all. And briefly, I want to assume that everyone knows about HDIF and what we actually do. We are an innovation program, which is funded by UKAID. I've been operating in this ecosystem for the almost past 7 years, since 2013. And bulk of what we do is basically providing grant funding to innovations in health, education, water, and sanitation. But on top of that, we have been very active in working within innovation ecosystem players to build this kind of innovation as we want it to be. So in that, we work with innovation hubs, work with other interested parties, the government, and all the very partners to curate some of the events. I mean, the one which is widely known is the Innovation Week that was very successful this year. But we also do organize these kind of challenges, strategic awards, so we can be able to catalyze the innovation ecosystem in becoming more involved and more innovative. So I'm not saying that we've exhausted what we need to be doing. I'm glad that the innovation ecosystem is actually growing. We have some innovation hubs that are very influential, which are very strong right now, and I'm glad to have kind of played a role in that. Yeah, now quickly as to why this challenge, and everyone knows the kind of times we are in at the moment, and we cannot stop arguing that the best innovations come in times of crisis, because everyone trying to kind of solve this, provide a solution and contribute to the mitigation against the COVID-19. And we've been seeing a lot of innovations on social media training. We've been seeing a lot of innovators coming up with initiatives. Most of them and some of them at their own costs and without waiting for donors or for the government or corporates to actually contribute to that. So we appreciate all that. And a number of stakeholders have been coming to us to HDIF, like UI Innovation Program, what are you doing about this? So briefly to talk about what we've been doing, as I said, back of what we do is basically providing grant funding, and we had committed over £23 million in the past 6 years to grants to about 47 projects which are already implementing. So what we did was to actually work with our grantees to quickly see how they can be able to mobilize some of the grants that have been committed to them and redirect some part of the fund to the some of the which they can respond to COVID-19. And we are glad that you have seen most of them actually doing that, the likes of Ubongo. We have seen Docas providing food automated kind of hand washing stations in the village in Handeni. We've seen quite a number of grantees like in Zanzibar working with the government, like D3. So there are quite a number that have been doing that. But beyond our grantees, we thought it's actually important that we should also support the initiative we're seeing from innovators who are not our grantees within the innovation ecosystem. But since we did not have much money left that haven't been committed, like what we can provide probably is just a platform for those innovations to actually be seen. And some of the partners who have been saying that they don't see innovations which are coming out that can actually go to support, they can actually use now this platform to see them. So that's why we came up with this challenge. But what we're trying to do was not to look for ideas as most pitching competition in the ecosystem do, but we're basically looking for those solutions which are already working, that people have already piloted, and they're already kind of providing those solutions to, at a cost or whatever. So that's why we're looking for innovative market-ready solutions that are kind of countering the negative effect of COVID. But we didn't want to go far from what our mandate actually directs us to do. In this particular challenge, we focus on health, education, WASH, or early childhood development. So whoever has innovation in those sectors was invited to apply. And we are very happy with the response. The window of application was very short, 7 days, but we managed to see 203 solutions that were submitted within those 7 days, which is quite unprecedented, if I can call it that way. We don't have space to accommodate all the good ones we've seen, so that we could only accommodate 10 solutions to be featured here to pitch. But what we're saying is like we can actually provide another platform where every solution that has been submitted in this particular window, who would like to be seen by other partners, can actually upload their video recorded pitch, and then we can help promote that. Simon is going to talk through about that, the kind of platform we are developing. But all in all, as you said, sorry, for someone who's not talking, if you can mute yourself, please. So what you are trying to say that this particular challenge, providing that particular platform for people, for innovations to be seen, and to also make it easy for some of the stakeholders who would like to find innovation to support, they can be able to see that. But to make it more interesting, it's incentive that we have said, okay, there are some smaller cash awards, and also in kind of support for at least the top 5 that are going to emerge, like based in these 10, depending on what the judges that are going to be introduced soon are going to tell us. So we are not limiting ourselves to providing that cash award, but we are going to be supporting those that are going to come out, and also work with also those who are willing, who are not part of this top 10, to see what else can we do to amplify what they are doing and support them further. As I said, this is just a pilot kind of challenge. We are going to work with other partners who have expressed interest to design another one, which is going to be much wider, not necessarily focusing on our sectors, but also focusing on what other partners want to support you. I think I have just had only five minutes. I can stop there, and we can talk about other initiatives, maybe respond to some of the questions that are going to be raised in the chat later on at the end. Other than that, I welcome everyone, and thanks for taking part in this. And for those who are not part of the top 10 solutions, it's not like an indication that your ideas were not good. It's just that if you had we have enough time and resources, and we could have accommodated over 100 that we saw actually, which are really good among the 203 that were submitted. So I welcome you all, and let's see what the innovators are going to show us. Back to you, Simon.
Thank you so much, Joseph. Again, welcome to all those who are joining right now. So if you have any questions, you can post it in the chat. If you have any comment, you can post it in the chat. So the rules for this pitch are really simple. Every solution, every person going to pitch today is going to have 3 minutes to pitch and take us through their presentation. And the judges are going to have up to 5 minutes to ask questions. Other rules have been communicated to those pitching, so we shouldn't be worried about that. So without further ado, I would like to go ahead and introduce the amazing panel of judges that we have. Most of these come from very diverse backgrounds. They will be asking the questions today and helping us decide which solution should we select to support. We're not looking for winners, but we're looking for solutions, like Joseph said, that we can support to help to scale. So first of all, I would like to introduce Mariam Gonja. Mariam Gonja is a tech evangelist working in innovation and technology space here in Tanzania. For those who know her, she's been part of Buni Innovation Hub. She's been part of SeedStars, and she was part of the SeedSpace team also. Mariam now has joined Ifakara Health Institute, a leading health research organization in Africa with a strong track record of developing, testing, and validating innovations in health. She is leading the innovations effort in the company as the innovations hub director at Ifakara. Welcome, Mariam. The second judge I would like to introduce is Naomi Masambili. Naomi is the co-founder and CEO of Chanua, an innovation agency specializing in healthcare, education, innovation, and director of Livy Africa. For 12 years, Naomi has been working in the area of social innovation, inclusive business, healthcare, mental health, and research. She has taken innovations from idea to scale and scaled them to reach a range of different groups. Her team at Chanua have developed a range of products, services, embedding play, gamification, technology in the areas of health, mental health, and enterprise development. They have recently been leading COVID response in the UK, supported by the UK government, with their innovation neurolab.org, supporting young people with their mental health and physical well-being. She is Wellcome Trust Public Engagement Awardee, was a principal investigator at the New Minds EPRS Chief-Funded Research Project, and co-led the UK implementing of Hack Health, part of the global network of health innovators. Welcome, Naomi. The third judge I'd like to present is Zahara Nessi, who is the Associate Director at Deloitte. Zahara is the International Donor Organizations Leader at Deloitte East Africa, overseeing Deloitte's international development work in 6 countries, including Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, Burundi, and Ethiopia, with a focus on inclusive and sustainable development, managing an annual portfolio of up to $40 million. She is the founder and sponsor of Deloitte's Women Initiative Network, which is focused on empowering women by promoting self-confidence, creating a supportive community with positive role models, and nurturing career development. Zahara is also the co-founder and leader of Deloitte Canada's non-profit advisory practice, which has provided over $3 million USD of advisory service to non-profit organizations across Canada over the past 15 years. Welcome, Zahara. Next, I would like to introduce Gidibo Tindwa, the program officer at Seagull Family Foundation. He's based in Dar es Salaam and represents Seagull Family Foundation. He leads due diligence on potential and current partners of SFF's Tanzania and Kenya portfolio. Gidibo is experienced in international development with a focus on youth and employment creation. He has experience building governance structures and strategic resource management for social businesses and NGOs. He believes in developing the risk appetite, but at the same time, de-risking different business models to help businesses grow and create a much needed culture of angel investing that leads to some patient capital in the relative young economy. Gidibo is a US State Department Sports Exchange alumni. He's a member of the Olympic Committee Athletic Commission in Tanzania and sits on several non-profit advisory boards. He is the founding member of the Girls Ball TZ, a US non-profit organization that supports girls from under-resourced communities in Tanzania gain access to elite basketball programs and scholarships. Previously, Gidibo worked in the US Embassy of Dar es Salaam as the Office of Public Affairs, supporting education initiatives and long-term exchange programs, and has worked for GIZ, YCI, and private sector engagement across Tanzania. Lastly, I would like to introduce Christoph Hall. Christoph has been engaged in the Tanzanian innovation ecosystem since 2018. when he led the WFP Innovation Hub in Dar es Salaam. In this capacity, he and his team supported several innovations related to zero hunger directly, as well as exploring how the UN entity could engage with the innovation ecosystem on a broader level. Prior to Tanzania, he set up and ran Delight Labs, a startup school for refugees and unemployed youth in Amsterdam. Before working related to SDG, Christoph has been working as a management consultant in business model transformation. Christoph is originally from Vienna, Austria, and holds a degree in chemical engineering and financial management. So our startups today will be pitching to this amazing panel of judges for 3 minutes again, and the startups will have 5 minutes to answer questions from the judges. So without further ado, I would like to welcome our first startup pitching today. And that is Mtabe. Mtabe is an offline Q&A-based learning platform using SMS and natural language processing to provide daily quizzes and answers to questions to students without internet access, textbooks, or smartphones. Given, welcome to begin your presentation.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Perfect. Am I going to use my slide or you? Okay, let me do that. Give me a minute. Perfect. Is my screen visible now?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you. Like someone said, my name is Given Edward. I'm from Tabe, and most of you people have been working on innovation for quite a while. So you already know the opportunities that lie in the field of innovation, or specifically education. So I'm not going to talk about that much. What I'm going to talk about is what we do and what we have learned. So as Mtabe, one thing that we realized is a lot of students are not online. They do not have access to internet. Specifically, 89% of all students are in government schools where one textbook is shared among 10 students. And these are the same people who live under $1.90. So most of them do not have access to internet. Now, beyond Tanzania, in Africa, if your solution to education requires internet, by default, you have already cut off nearly 60% of the population. So what we thought about is, what if we could create a Q&A learning platform that uses no internet to be able to help students? Now, what we provide are the following things. One, students get to ask questions and get answers. But apart from that, they also get study guides and recommendations. And these recommendations are based on what is in the curriculum. So if students are supposed to be learning, say, about photosynthesis today in biology, then they will get study recommendations today based on that topic. But apart from that, they also get exercises and quizzes through which they can test their understanding. And all this is happening offline via SMS. Now, the e-learning market in East Africa is big, but apart from that, it's growing even bigger Africa-wise. And as technology gets more penetrating, we expect that to grow even bigger. And that's where we are targeting. So like I said, we believe that good innovation is one which uses a technology which people already have, can afford, and know how to use. And so because of that, we target these students who feel marginalized, who don't have access to smartphones, but they only have these $10 phones. And with this, they're going to be able to ask questions and get answers, get quizzes, and also the daily study guides. But apart from that, we also have an app which we built because we understand that students are going to be moving to this direction the next 5 years, which works as a feed system where students can see the questions their peers are asking and they can save them for their studies later on. Now, the main reason why we exist is because we saw that sometimes it's because of cost, sometimes it's because they don't have access to teachers. And so this is where natural language processing comes in, whereby students get a response in under a minute. And this is based on the natural language processing system, where when students ask questions, they don't all have to go to teachers. Sometimes 64% of the times, actually, the questions are answered automatically by the system. And the more content we have, the better the system gets in answering questions. But apart from that, we use a normal number, so students don't have to pay 150 per text. They only pay 2 shillings, and that 2 shillings is from the 500 that they pay to subscribe for bundles. We tested this. We did 1 year of testing it, letting students use it. And these are some of the stories we have gotten. We've had students who have been able to move to top 10 of their class. We have had students like Doreen, who said some of the questions we gave in the study guides were asked in the exam, and she passed. And we have students like Samson, who says they use Tablet to get questions to study with their students. And because of these services we provide, you'll notice that our content is dynamic. It is not a portal where you can access content anytime. We develop this content on the daily basis. And so we charge students little over $0.50, that is 50 cents per month, to be able to get all the services that we give. What we have learned so far is beyond just students enjoying the service and benefiting from them, but they have also been requesting for primary school content. And this is an assumption that we had, and we figured out that it's wrong. We thought we could be able to create a sustainable business model with just secondary school students. But
you have 1 minute to go.
Yeah, but once we started testing, we came to realize that if we are to create a sustainable business model, then we need to increase our base of users. And so because of that, we are going to expand into primary school question and answers, because that's also what parents have asked. And so as you can see in the usage of funds, a big chunk of it will go into the content creation and then marketing, because the students we are targeting with the SMS are not online. And so we're going to have to go there. Now, this is where we need help, because once we are able to do this with your help, we are going to be able to multiply the impact we have on students. We're going to have more marginalized students getting to top 10 of their classes. We're going to help them pass the exams. And with that, we're going to encourage them to push for their dreams, because innovation currently is marginalizing them. And we think we can get more students to be their best if we reach out to them. So this is myself and my team of teachers who are in creating content. And that's pretty much it. Thank you for listening, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Judges, karibu with questions.
I'm happy to start with a question. Can you hear me okay?
Yes. Yeah, we can hear.
Okay, Given, thank you for that pitch and for that nice introduction to your platform and to your solution, particularly during these times when schools are closed. I wanted to ask you, it looks like you are addressing the issue of access, whereby students will no longer have access to content, to education, to teachers. But I wanted to understand how you're linking that with actual learning outcomes. So, in addition to providing access, is there kind of any evidence that this platform also improves the learning outcomes for your students?
Great, thanks. So what we do is every question, once it's asked, it is tagged and labeled to its specific topic and its specific subject, which also helps us understand the learning outcome of that specific subject and that topic. And because of that, we run evaluation, not tests, but rather Q&A to students at the end of every month, whereby we ask them whether this topic or this question or their experience in topic A, B, C, D help them understand better that specific topic. So earlier I had shared the the impact stories we got from students. That was a general one, but generally when using the platform. But we also tie every single question to the specific learning outcomes. And that is something that we plan to tie into our value propositions going forward, because now we are able to know students in Arusha who are in Form 3 struggle in biology in this topic. So all that data help us understand better how we can help them further and what content to push to them.
Okay, thank you for that.
Yeah.
All right, Christoph speaking. I'm happy to go next. A very short, brief question up front. So your technology is ready to use and in service as we speak, right?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Then I love your price point. It seems very affordable and accessible to a lot of people in Tanzania. What I'm wondering about is you have a very big team, and yeah, teams need to be paid, and you also have technology in the background. And can you tell us a little bit about your financial sustainability? So with how many subscriptions do you need to actually cover your cost, and how many subscriptions do you have at the moment? As in, how big is the gap between where you are today and the growth trajectory, the break even that you actually aim for?
Great. So the trick, or rather the advantage that works for us with this system is it gets better with time, which means the more content, the more questions teachers receive and answer, the cheaper the system becomes. I'll explain that further. At the moment, 64% of the questions we received are answered automatically by the natural language processing system. And so because of that, the remaining percentage needs to be filled up by teachers. But when we started, it was actually around 49% of the questions, and now we are at 64. And so we need teachers at a period of around 4 months to be able to answer these questions, and the system learns. And by after around 10 months, we're going to reach at least 80% of the questions being answered by the system. So we're going to need less. We're going to need less and less teachers. But apart from that, our costs, if we are able to get at least 1,000 paying students a month, then that's going to be able to cover the cost for teachers, because most of the cost goes to teachers to create content. And so if we have those students, that's going to be great. Like I said, we did a year of testing, so the platform was available for free, and we only started B2C, or rather charging students directly around 2 months ago. And so far we have around 200 users. And that's what informed us to expand into primary school content. Like I said, that's going to increase our user base, and in turn, it's also going to increase revenue, which is going to make us sustainable.
Hi, Given, Mariam here. Two questions. Hi. So first, have you thought of how your solution would be able to cater for primary school students in the villages, for instance? And the second question is, if I understood correctly, in the slide where you show the teachers, those are the ones that only create content, and you're the only one who runs the day-to-day activities from Tabe, is that correct?
Yeah, mostly. Or
do you have another team like runs operations behind, apart from the teachers?
Okay, so let me start with the last question. I manage the tech myself because I have background in computer science, and I created the software from the beginning, so it's easy for me to manage, and also saves cost that we don't need to have a techie person maybe in the future. But apart from that, yes, those are the content creators. We also have a person who is responsible for engagement with students. We also have a person who's responsible for managing finances. But I'm guessing in the slide that that was there previously, those were just the content creators. Maybe an additional note is that we try to make sure most of the people we have are teachers, even for example, someone who manages engagement, because then they understand students best. But yeah, we have people beyond that, 2 more people specifically. The first question, with the primary school content, it's a bit different because, for example, in the very first few grades of primary school content, most of it is visual and very little text, at least for the first 2 grades. So we're gonna put most of that content on the app, and then we're gonna try to put it in audio form. That is in terms of voice, the voice systems where you call and you listen to content. But for the rest of the grades, that is from grade 3 to grade 7, the content is good enough. And
even you have half a minute to finalize.
Great. Yeah. So the remaining content can be delivered via text. But so far, we don't see any challenge that is beyond doable technologically in providing this content.
Sorry, Given, just a quick one. How many subscribers do you currently have? And what's the accuracy of the auto response for
how many
subscribers do you currently have?
Yeah, I said we have around 200 at the moment, and the accuracy, I'd put it at around 89% from last week, because students sometimes have typos. Sometimes they mix English and Swahili, and because most of natural language processing engines are in English, we have had to fine tune a lot to get to 89. But it's not something that's a problem to us. It was at the beginning, but we have almost everything figured out by now as far as that is concerned.
All right, judges, any more questions?
Can I ask just a quick question? So it's about the technology behind it. And you spoke about natural language processing, and I'm glad you spoke about the fact that the majority is in English.
Yeah.
And you haven't spoken, I guess, about the competitive element of the fact if you have Kiswahili, but also local languages as well. Actually, how can you analyze those in an unstructured rather than a structured way? And is that an area that you could develop, or are you interested in developing the platform?
Yeah, so that posed a problem, but also an opportunity in the fact that there isn't, like you said, a system that can work with Swahili, but it's something that we also see in future to be like an extra value proposition, maybe to help other startups who are also looking into venturing into NLP, but language being a barrier. And it's something that would definitely need to work on further and perhaps get support into as well, because it goes beyond just Mtabe, but anybody else in the future who wants to use NLP in their products.
Thank you, definitely. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Given. Now on to the next startup solution that is pitching today, Xiety Recyclers and Tanzanian Recyclers Association. What they've done is that they've embarked on an initiative to make durable and cost-effective face shields locally. These efforts occurred as COVID-19 was declared as a global emergency concern and hit millions of people across the continent. Most countries started to scramble for high-priced and less available PPEs to protect their frontline workers. And these people started creating affordable and cheap PPEs. Welcome, Alan Kimambo. Alan?
Sorry, hi everyone. I hope all you hear me and
screen.
you see me on the screen. Okay, just 1 minute. Is it okay? Yeah. Is it okay now? Oh, yeah. Sure.
Share your screen, please.
1 minute.
Yes.
Yep.
We can see your screen. Go ahead.
Done? Yeah, hi everyone. I hope you see me and we are ready to go. Actually, in this week, I went through a very difficult time as my daddy was involved in an accident. And I spent most of the time at KSMC, attending my dad. And of course, while I was at the KSMC, I saw many health workers, they are working there, just, they only putting their surgical mask. But, nothing like another additional PPE, which can help, can protect them from, contacting some viruses or bacterial infection. So even one of the nurses today he requested so that can get this shield, and I just donated like 6 pieces to her and tell her to please use it and give your friends as well. So it's like there is a big need, and you all know since the start of COVID-19, it has been a very big challenge to for the countries, and most of the countries like Tanzania, to access these PPE, and most of them they're coming from China, and even the one which we are made in Tanzania, the price was really high and even not really available to cater the need, the current need of the PPEs for the frontline workers. That's why Xiety and in collaboration with Tanzania Research Associations embarked in an initiative to make a durable but cost-effective face shield to be used by the frontline workers. And through this partnership, we have been able to make more than 150 pieces of face shield per day, and which are 19% lower than the current imported PPE and even available PPE which are made here in Tanzania. We have moved so far to even approve them by TMDA. They have given us a green light for them to be used for hospitals, and they are made by the raw materials which are really available here in Tanzania. And the one which this is the one which I've put on. And so far we have been able to approve this face shield, and it is accepted by the market. We have been able to sell more than 6,000 units already, and it has generated a revenue of 26 million in sales in just a space of 1 month. And we have been able to retain 38 employees. We are assured to get their payment, and the operations continue. As you know, COVID-19 impacted also part of our business, which we are doing, the recycling business. Of course, what we tried to do, we had to make the PP, which is a low cost but readily available, which is the competitive advantage, meaning that we can even produce at the mass production, as we can make more than 1,500 pieces per day. And you can see our face shields have been used by most of the people. It's not only hospitals, but like fuel stations, offices, and we have even come up with the other products in the same line, like the eye protection goggles for like people who want to put on this one. And even we have another product which I'll show later through questions. And we have also having things like face mask for impaired people, but also the users, it's wide range, mobile operators, security guard, hospitals, and the rest. But we have a very good team led by me and the rest of the team in the company. But we have tried to use most of the people whom we are still working in the company. And of course, our ask is important. We are looking for we are looking to establish the low-cost PPE line, whereby we can. It's a full low-cost PPE line whereby we can make these PPEs for health workers at a cost which is easier for people to be able to purchase it. But also we want to, another ask is to take this initiative to regional market, East African market and SADC regions, because we think that this market, they need our solution. So we need like 14 million just to start to establish that line. To have full, employees who are working at that line, but also we need like 15 million this as a reserve, because once you sold the unit, some of the customers, they won't pay you immediately. They wait maybe 1 month or 2 months, depending on the agreement. So we need to have a cushion whereby we can be able to make the unit supply and even meet other orders from different customers. So that's what I have for now. Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Given. Judges, welcome to questions.
I'm happy to start with a question, Given. Thank you for that overview. It was really nice to actually see the products and see you kind of showcasing them in video, and I can see how much progress you've already been making. What I wanted to ask is kind of your analysis in terms of the long-term demand for these products. So, you know, there's so much unknown about COVID right now. So, you know, what are you thinking in terms of your long-term viability for the company and maybe other uses for the products and demand?
Yeah, sure. That's a very valid question. We have been also thinking about the same in our company. As I told you, you know, I was at the KSMC right now, and the people are, you know, almost not that much are protected. And you never know what will happen next in terms of these, you know, emergencies. So what we are trying to do, we are trying to establish a line whereby wherever the demand comes, we are capable of, you know, meeting that demand. And of course, there are some of the, one of the, you know, procurement agencies for the government is requesting something like 36,000 units. Of course, we're in discussion with them. So that's so much, I mean, in terms of the units. So that's why we are looking at, you know, not only market, Tanzania market, but regional market, SADC and East Africa, so that at least we can provide them with this low cost, you know, PPE. So I think the demand will still be there, but not at the same rate as it was before.
Thank you.
So I've just got a question. So PPE is like the hot topic at the moment, and there's so much competition, and it's quite a ruthless area as well. Unfortunately, when the aim of it is to actually support people and prevent them developing a health problem. So how do you feel that you can navigate that in this short period of time now, which is a quite responsive time when we're in COVID and things are changing, like was said before? So how do you feel that you can respond in this competitive landscape?
Sorry, you're breaking up, sorry.
Oh, sorry. The question was, as it's a competitive landscape, how do you feel that you can respond in this competitive landscape when there's quite a lot of PPE providers at the moment that are all vying for the same contract?
It's, you know, you broke up. I didn't get it clear, the question, sorry.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear now.
Yeah, so what I was just asking was, how do you feel that you can compete with the wide range of PPE providers in this quite competitive and aggressively competitive environment at the moment for contracts?
Oh, yeah, I hope I heard you clearly. But you know what we want to do? Actually, as I said, we want to establish a clear, a low-cost PPE line, and not just for, you know, face shield, you know, the eye goggles or the face mask, but, you know, even other PPE lines. I mean, PPE products, which, you know, they are quite expensive. You know, they need to be imported, but, you know, we can do them here in Tanzania. I think that is very, very possible to do it. And I think in terms of competition, if you know, the innovation, because with what we made this PPE, if you look back, previously the price was more than $10, you know, for just face shield from China, imported from China. But we drive this down to almost $2. Just the price of this face shield. So I think with the innovation capability, with the team we have, we can be able to even you know, come up with other line of products around the PPE, you know, which are much, you know, cheaper, but they are effective in the area of health workers. So we are not stopping here. We want to establish that low cost PPE line for health workers or for frontline workers.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
This is Christoph speaking. Actually, I have I think you just mentioned it, but if you could please repeat it. So what is the cost price that you can produce at the moment? And if you would receive the grant, so how much does one of Face Shield cost at the moment? And if you receive the grant to increase your capacity, what will the future cost be? Because you say that cost is your main competitive advantage, right?
Yeah, actually, we now produce this face shield. It's the cost is $1 to make it, and you can make it in less than 3 minutes. Just one face shield if you have the material ready. And we are not intending to raise the price. If we increase, if we establish a proper production line for these face shields, we can even go down, even sell them at less than $2, per unit. So for us, we want to establish that low cost PPA line, and we have tested it, and it is working.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you, judges, for your questions. Thank you, Alan, for your presentation.
Hello?
Thank you for your presentation.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yes. So the next startup that we're going to be listening to is called Smart Core Enterprises with their product called Kisomo. Kisomo is a digital learning platform which provides access to curricular-based interactive, curated and locally relevant digital learning content, which is in the form of real-life HD videos, animations, and interactive quizzes to 2.2 million secondary school learners in Tanzania. The platform can be accessed both online and through a mobile app and offline. Welcome, George, to present.
Hi, everyone. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Yeah, sure. So this is George Kilimali from SmartCore. At SmartCore, we help students to fall in love with what they learn through videos and animations. So we all can agree that students in this era spend most of their time in digital platforms, watching TVs and other digital platforms. Learning is because most of the time this student access the content which have no relevance toward the academic performance. So due to that, this problem actually affected the 2.2 million students across Tanzania in secondary schools. But the overall problem is even higher across East Africa market, where we are talking about 12 million students who don't have access to this different interactive content. So looking into that, we decided to create Kisomo. This is a platform which is available online and offline. It's available online through a mobile application, but also offline through different devices, including USB drives and DVDs. This platform actually provides interactive and local relevant content, specifically covering the curricular learning, but also the life skills. So ideally, Kisomo want to bridge the gap, which is existing in a Tanzanian education system, but also help students to actually fall in love with what they actually learn. So these content are delivered in various formats, but mostly are coming from visualizations, quizzes, interactive exercise, but also different languages. Kisomo app was launched in 1st April, and this was the impact we have achieved so far. This is the milestone. So far we have more than 1,000 users who are registered using the app, but also we have an average of almost 621 active monthly users. We also added more 26 new courses. These are videos, animations, and interactive quizzes from our database of more than 500 courses which are already existing. But also since April, since we launched, we managed to maintain the 5-star app rating on the Play Store. And we understand we have to be sustainable so that we can scale the innovation even further. And most of our revenue are coming from subscription, where these students get access to the content in the platform by paying a membership fee. But also we generate some revenues from hardware sales, the device which I was talking about previously. With the HDIF funding of 30 million, we expect to use it in this way. 50% of it will go straight to increasing our content library. With this funding, we can add more than 100 new videos in different topics. But also with this funding, we can help more than 2,000 students to get free access to the entire platform, meaning that through cost sharing. But also we also, working on trying to improve new features, doing the marketing so that it can reach even more students, and also try to grow our team to cover the cost. And we understand here that we are not alone in the market, and we believe that students can get notes from anywhere right now, from teachers' sources, from other platforms which are existing, but we are offering more than notes. So we help students to learn through visualizations, through interactive game and quizzes. So these are more for our competitive advantage. So we are a team of nine young youth who have different backgrounds and experience from marketing, finance, education, content development, information technology, and so much more. But also we leverage the network of partners which we have to get more expertise and team members. Also, we managed to work with different partners, specifically in response to COVID. We have been working with the University of Dodoma, whereby they offer us access to research in education technology areas, but also offers us access to the working environment, meaning that providing us a working space. They also offer us the access to laboratory, like a computer lab for technical support and equipment access. But also we've been managing to work with Christian Social Service Commission. This is an institution with more than 425 secondary schools in the country. So we are working with them, trying to get access to these students and help them to learn during the COVID and even after the COVID pandemic. We also been working with Vodacom Tanzania, mostly to support us in technology innovations, but also other organizations, including Digital Opportunity Trust, Shona and Anza, who are helping us in business development, marketing, and raising awareness of our products, both for international and the local stakeholders.
You have half a minute.
Right now we are faced. Thank you. Right now we are having a challenge to getting access to funding, mostly to support our scaling, meaning that we can reach as many students as possible in the country, but also beyond. But also we are looking for access to local and global network of partners, which can help us can support us to grow. And lastly, we are looking for business development support, and especially in the area of impact measuring. So thank you. I hope you can join us to bridge the gap and help students to fall in love with what they learn.
Judges, welcome for questions.
Hi, thank you for that presentation. I actually wanted to ask you the same question that I asked Matabe around the linkage between your product and learning outcomes. So it looks like you're trying to address the issue of, of students and children being bored with the traditional learning models. But how are you actually able to demonstrate that that by increasing their love for learning, they're also improving their overall learning outcomes?
Yeah, thank you, Tara. So I'll answer this question in two ways. The first way, I think one of the areas which is so much difficult to measure the impact is the education sector, but we tried our best to do some different measurement. For example, when since the user registered into our, let's say, mobile application, we keep track of their progress. And every content which we deliver to this specific student, let's say we are offering a specific topic in a video module, at the end of this module, we usually send out a quiz, which a student can also measure the understanding of that specific module. So we are trying our level best to measure the impact in the long term, but it's a work in progress. We are trying. We are trying to implement different approaches, including questionnaires. Sometimes trying to help. To record the baseline progress of student when they are signing up until maybe a year later. So it's a work in progress, but that's how we are trying to make it work.
Okay, yeah, it's a difficult question. That's why I'm asking it. Thanks for
definitely. Thank you.
Hi. I just wanted to ask a question around who your audience is. So I just looked at the app and I just saw you've got like subscription models of payment. And are you targeting this at schools around the scale up or parents? And how do you work and manage that inequality gap that young people who don't have access to the technology through the offline provision that you have to meet their needs? How are you doing that?
Yeah, so before COVID-19, we were mostly distributing our content and our innovation through the offline channels. As I said, we are having like a flash drive access offline, also the DVDs which can also have preloaded content in it. But in response to COVID, we decided to move our product to an online version of it. So we are trying our level best to make sure that it's reach out to as many students as don't have infrastructure. So mostly we push the parents and teachers to use their infrastructure. Like if a parent has a phone, it will be easy for them to install the app to, on their phone for their kids or their students to get access to it. So we are trying to push mostly on the people who actually have the infrastructures to support the student to keep learning during the lockdown and even after that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other question, judges?
A quick follow-up question. Do you have a demographic of who your current subscribers are? Like, do you have subscribers that are schools or are they parents? And I'm asking this because of your price point. It seems a little bit higher compared to like the majority of people who would beneficiaries of your product.
Yeah, so far what we just have experienced since we launched the app, most of our users are coming mostly from the middle and high income. So mostly our parents who are actually willing to pay for their student to keep learning. Because one thing which happened during the COVID, a lot of teachers and their platform have been sending content to these students, but in most cases, these students, they don't actually feel the need to learn this content. So when you send like a 100-page book to a student who never got a chance to learn on themselves, it's kind of lose the interest on it. So most of the parents, they were trying to figure out how can we motivate the student to keep learning, though with minimum supervision as possible. So videos, animations, and interactive game actually become the better way for them to to actually learn during this period. But also we understand that most of the parents are still complaining about the price, but we are trying to figure out how we can try to minimize our costs through either cost sharing or whatever ways. We can think on how we can minimize our operation costs and also reduce the cost to the parent.
Thank you.
So just another question. What costs you so much operationally? Then what is it that you would use the funding for, and how would that then be sustainable?
Yeah, so most of the costs are coming toward the content production. Since we have to work with teachers and other institutions and another network of partners to do video productions, to do creation of these quizzes and interactive games. So most of the costs are coming from production phase. But we expect that if we can have this content produced, so later on our costs will literally go down because we don't have to do like a new content production unless we are moving to a different segment. We just have the cost for maintenance and updating the content, but also trying to improve some features. So our cost, we believe that will go down. And even with this funding, that's why I said that almost 50% of it will go straight to the production of more content, but 30% of it is going back to the to helping these students, some of the students, to get access either for free or at least at a reduced price. So ideally, we are trying to make sure that we can reach as many students as possible, but also we have to make sure that we can scale the innovation even in the later days.
Thank you for your answer. Thank you.
Thank you.
And this is Christoph, and I have one more question, or maybe also if you flip it, advice. Because what I hear is that you basically rely on the computing power of the users, right? So your solution, you supply DVDs, USB sticks, download an app. So your users need computing power in order to make use of your service. In turn, you have a very sophisticated service, right? But at the same time, it limits your reach because, yeah, people need to have access to such devices. Can you maybe elaborate on that choice or potential future plans that
Yes, so if I understand the question correctly, but when we started distributing the content through offline channels, it was easy for the student to get access to these basic infrastructures. For example, CDs can be played using a normal TVs at home. So most of the households in Tanzania, they have access to the TVs, at least for the people who are coming from urban and suburban areas. When we decided to move towards the mobile application and the online world, the move was merely because of the changes which have been happening in the country. Like a lot of people right now are moving toward the digital world. Like people are getting more access to internet, people are getting more access to smart devices. That's why we say that we have to figure out a way to help, the student who actually can have access to these infrastructures to keep learning. But at the same time, if you don't have these infrastructures, maybe you can find an alternative. Like you can use a CD or you can use a USB drive. Unfortunately, right now we don't sell USB drive and CDs because like the social distancing thing and the lockdown and everything, most of the people are preferring to access it through online platforms. So, which is very interesting because you can imagine launching the app in less than 2 months. We already got more than 1,000 subscribers, which is a very interesting thing, which we even thought like this is not possible because like most people, they don't have access. But I think that's the way we get. I can maybe think of it in that perspective.
All right, thank you so much, George, for your presentation. The next startup that we're gonna have, the next solution is Bits and Bytes. So Bits and Bytes partnered with the Tanzanian makers community in organizing the delivery of personal protection equipment to healthcare workers across Tanzania. Through this collaboration, they 3D printed PPEs locally and are ongoing with trials for ventilators at the moment. Welcome, Lillian, to pitch.
All right. Thank you. Just a moment. I believe you can share you can see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. As introduced, my name is Lillian, and I'm one of the co-curators for Bits and Bytes Tanzania. Driven by the mission of building better communities through innovation and data-driven approaches, Bits and Bytes Tanzania worked together with the Tanzanian makers community at the height of the COVID-19 spread in Tanzania to print 3D face shield masks and deliver across to different healthcare workers who are on the front line during this crisis. In undergoing our intervention, we came across a very interesting challenge whereby it was more about the supply chain management. And with regards to this one is looking at managing orders that were coming in, being able to actually supply and meet the demand for the face shield masks on the, from the healthcare workers, and also managing the end-mile logistics in terms of finalizing that the healthcare worker, the PPEs actually get to the healthcare workers' hands. So what we come to you in terms of our response is actually a COVID-19 e-platform response, whereby we're looking at a platform that will convene makers and manufacturers of PPEs and to supply to those in need of the PPE equipment. So what basically this platform will allow us to do is have accessibility to PPE across Tanzania, allow bulk procurement, production, and delivery of PPEs across Tanzania. And something that is pretty important is actually mapping and preparedness in the event of a second wave. As we all know, a vaccine is currently being worked on, but it's not yet available for everyone. Why us as Bits and Bytes? We come
into the fray with about 6 years of experience of working around the space of innovation and technology. Have worked across with about 13 partners and collaborators ranging from public, private, CSOs, academic institutions, etc. How the solution actually works. So we start with the system, the e-platform, actually receiving PPE orders. And then the orders, PPE producers and makers accept the order via the platform. Face shields and other protective equipment are then printed by the assigned vendor. And then the vendor dispatches the equipment to the customer. And then behind all of that is actually communication that is ongoing between the person who's put in the request, mapping evaluation with regards to which are the areas that are actually receiving these PPEs, and also assessment of impact that will be ongoing via the platform. In essence, what we're offering is actually three key things: convening makers and manufacturers who are selling PPEs, users in need of PPEs to have online access to purchase in bulk orders, and the data and mapping, gathering data of usage, demographics, and location of users. This could be used, as I said again, in the event of a second wave, you're able to actually map out which are the areas that have been receiving PPEs, or there is a lack of, or there is enough that you don't need to deliver. What we've been able to print currently is face shields. We've been doing trials with ventilators. We're currently actually looking at production using 3D printed technology, production of infrared thermometers, which will be available at the market at the lower price point that is actually on the marketplace. And working around pulse oximeters. This again is it's a device that takes different vitals of a patient to be able to understand what are this person's standing point. So what's the impact so far? We have been able to deliver 1,847 3D printed face shields masks to 27 hospitals across 5 regions in Tanzania. And what is the way forward? Our ask is about 27 million, which will be spread around capacity building and materials for 3D printing, the e-platform development, and management and coordination of getting everything in order. What's the sustainability? So we're looking at the selling of the protective gear, a vendor subscription fee whereby they get access to the demand that comes on board. There is the transaction fee and access to database to stakeholders in health sector. This is with regards to the third point whereby we're able to do data and mapping around PPE deliverables. So the team, it's Bits and Bytes as the coordinator in getting this, putting this together. Robotech Labs, DIT Lab, who are part of the Tanzania Makers community, part of the dedicated 3D printers that we're looking at working with. Thank you.
Thank you. Judges, welcome for questions.
Hi, thank you for that great presentation. I know we're in obviously the COVID crisis, and this is the middle of, I guess, and this is a response to that. But beyond this, have you thought about how, for other challenges in other areas, you can leverage the strength of the maker community, and potentially when thinking about sustainability, how could you lead on developing further strength for like maker units in areas where they're not there at the moment?
Thank you. So with the capacity building, we're actually looking at how, let's start with the equipment. We're starting to look at what other type of equipment besides responding to the COVID-19 can the makers community actually design and deliver to the marketplace. And then also second to that, it's also seeing how can we build capacity of other the full makers community besides, there's the Zanzibar makers community, and just being able to integrate all the different makers community in Tanzania, to have the capacity of being able to deliver accordingly what they do in case there's any challenge within their regions.
Lillian? Hello? Okay, I think we're losing Lillian.
Hello?
Yes, okay, you're back.
Oh, to be heard? Hello, sorry, I'm back on again.
Yes, you're back, you're back.
Yes.
So I'll give you 1 minute to answer that question.
Okay,
You
yes, sorry about that. I was just responding that with regards to building the makers community post-responding to the COVID-19, we are looking at capacity building for the makers community to start looking at what other type of devices or responses can we do that will be respective to the specific needs of the particular area.
Okay, thank you.
This is Christoph. I have a question to build on that. I've looked at the map in your pitch deck, and it seems like you have mapped 10 printers across Tanzania, most of them in Dar and I think 2 in Mbeya. So looking at scalability, how many unmapped printers are there that are not featured on your map yet? That would be my first question.
So how many unmapped printers are not are or are not?
Exactly. Are you already working with 80 or 90% of the maker community in Tanzania, or are there still a lot more 3D printers on there that you can sign up to your platform? That's,
okay.
question.
So currently we work, at least specifically when with response to what the fundraising that we did as Bits and Bytes, we were working with the 70% of the maker community that are existing. And the intention also of doing further mapping is to see, are there any other makers community who are existing that are not involved in the mapping, but as for the map itself, it does have at least 70 to 80% of the live or active makers in the country.
Great. And then the follow-up question would be, I love your networked approach, very high agility, and you can easily pivot to other problems, and that's beautiful. And also you've mentioned price points of, for example, face shields that are comparable in the range what you've heard also earlier today. My question here is, do the prices you have mentioned, are they including the cost of the 3D printers, or are they just the variable unit costs?
So the cost that we have mentioned on the breakdown right now, or?
Sorry, I have
Hello,
to unmute.
Christoph? Sorry.
Yeah, I was muted. Thank you. No, I was just curious about the price point of, for example, the face shield, right? I think you can,
yes.
You're also in the range of 7,000, I read somewhere, and your target
yes.
is about 4,500. My question here is, are these the variable cost, or do you also include the cost of the actual 3D printer?
So that is the 3D printers, like, so how we've been operating, it's more that it's been a volunteer community. So what we've been paying for is actually the resources to actually get the 3D printed face shield masks out. So that is the total cost for that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Hi, Lillian. So I have a couple of questions, right? So I'm trying to understand what is the business that you're trying to pitch to us this evening, right? So are you pitching a marketplace for the makers to be able to get in touch with people who need PPEs, or are you trying to create a platform where you're the main supplier and you provide raw materials to make these PPEs, give them to the makers for them to sell?
Okay. So our role has always been a convener. So we are pitching for the first one, which is actually designing a marketplace for the makers. So something that is sustainable and streamlined, that we're able to track what are the orders that are coming through, what can we, what type of devices or equipments can we actually make within the makers community, and being able to showcase that to people who need or who are in request of buying specific needs. So it's the first one, the former, whereby it's a marketplace that the makers community will actually benefit.
So I need 1,000 pieces of face shields. I go to the platform, I make an order, and say Robotech picks up my order. They make the order, I make the payment directly to Robotech, right?
Yes. So I mean, the payment will be made on the platform, but it will eventually go to Robotech. Yes.
All right. Okay. So how does Bits and Bytes? How do you leverage from this? How do you get money? Or you're just creating a platform, but you're not intending to make money in the process?
So we are literally helping to design and put in a platform or a system. And essentially, we're going to hand this over to the makers community and do oversight and making sure that everything does stand. So from the development part, in terms of the development of the platform, and then managing and putting together all these different vendors and the different players. But essentially, this is something that we want to be sustainable, whereby the makers community will be taking it to the next level.
So, okay. So for you to be able to sustain the platform, are you looking forward to taking commission from the makers? Or what kind of model do you have to make sure you're sustained? Because I'm not hoping you're going to be raising grants the whole time for this.
No. So the breakdown is actually in us being able to design and put this platform in play. And literally, if we go back to the sustainability in terms of the transaction fees, the vendor fees, it is to help sustain the platform. So to get the platform ongoing in terms of during the year, and then for directly that the makers will be making money. So our job is actually to help put this in order and hand it over to the makers community. So we're building for them. If that makes sense.
So after this, it's going to be owned by the makers community.
Yes. So we're putting in together the process and then helping them, handing it over to them.
Understood. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, judges, for your questions. For this round, the last presentation that we're going to hear is from Jenga Hub. So Jenga Hub created a Corona challenge that provides engaging, educative activities to children during the Corona crisis. It is delivered through information slides about COVID-19 on the Jenga Hub website, also available offline and to download. Welcome, Nancy, to pitch.
Thank you, Simon. Just starting my screen share. So my name is Nancy and I'm from the Jenga Hub. We're an organization with a dynamic team of instructors, teachers, and volunteers that empower children through technology. We want to create lasting, memorable learning experiences while improving education outcomes. Through our partnership with Designathon Works, our children are part of a global academy of over 65,000 change makers that empower them to design a better world. So according to UNICEF, children under the age of 14 make up 44% of the children in Tanzania, and this pandemic has seen the disruption of millions of them being thrown out of school because of the virus, often having little to no pedagogy support or access to tech tools that guarantee education continuity and curriculum-based learning. So in response, we have designed the Corona Challenge, which is a unique design competition that provides engaging educational activities that focuses on active learning. And through problem solving, it promotes creative thinking and change-making skills in children. It's unique because the children apply their creativity to find solutions. And in this case, specifically for the coronavirus, and the solutions can begin to be applied. I'm sorry, my slide just stuck. I don't know if you can see the transition or not. Simon? Sorry.
Yeah, we can see.
Just begin again. Apologies for that. Sorry, just a moment. Apologies. So, am I back on?
Yes, you are.
So, right, so the Corona Challenge is a unique design thinking competition that is student-centered, and it provides engaging educative activities and focuses on active learning. Through problem solving, it promotes creative thinking and change-making skills in children. So how does it work? Through the consent of a parent or a guardian, children register participation through our website, on email or via WhatsApp, and through our network of trained teachers, and are therefore able to access materials required for the challenge either offline, online, and through our Jenga learning packets. It proceeds by sharing with the children fact slides about COVID-19, the challenges presented by the pandemic, and existing solutions for further inspiration to the children. Then they're given a worksheet that is available online, offline, and through our learners packets. I will mention also that the challenge is available in both English and Kiswahili. And completed worksheets can be shared back by uploading through our website, sent by email or WhatsApp, and sent again also through our network of teachers. And winning ideas are selected on a weekly basis, with winners being awarded prizes and recognized globally through our network with Design-a-thon. Through the Jenga Hub, they also get a chance to be mentored by instructors and stakeholders to develop viable prototypes. And also, again, our reach right now is at 300 students across our network and trained teachers. And we want to reach more children. We want to deliver more Jenga learning packets across regions, especially with children who have no access to the internet or technology, and increase our teacher training footprint as well as the visibility, and inspire countless more next generation change makers. It's sustainable because during and beyond COVID-19, the market is established for accessible and affordable educative content across multiple channels. The content and material we're offering go beyond basic education at a fraction of the price, as our additional challenges span across SDG related themes, as you can see: waste, water, mobility, life on land, food and climate action as today's World Environment Day. And we wanted to keep motivating and empowering children to make a difference. The bulk of the money that will be, if we get supported today, the bulk of the money will go into learning packets, complete with fact slides and maker kits. We want to extend the footprint of our teacher training, and of course, logistics and marketing to ensure that we're visible and we reach as many children and teachers and learners across the country. Thank you so much for the opportunity to pitch today.
Welcome, judges, for questions.
Hi, Nancy.
Hi.
Great concept. I like the idea of kind of getting kids involved in, in building and play and trying to find a solution for some of these complex challenges. I wanted to understand your pricing model a little bit more. So you talk about where the funds are going to be allocated to, but how are you financially viable? Who pays for your materials, and just help me understand your financials a little bit more.
Yes, absolutely. So our learning packets at the moment retail for about 5,000 shillings, and the parents are the ones who pay for it. We develop the content in partnership, like I mentioned, with the Design-a-thon Works, and we're very keen to extend the growth and impact of our teacher training, which is also paid for, especially through a lot of private schools that we have already engaged. We're working to lobby government for the public schools component, also to continue to train a lot more teachers with our design thinking concepts and offer our themes and our learning and insights to them as well.
Nancy, hi.
Hi.
So if you would, it's just a follow-up question actually from Zara's question. If you had the support you needed, do you think you would be able to roll out yourselves to the government schools without necessarily needing the supports, like, you know, potentially reaching out to heads of schools, for instance, without going through, I mean, the local government, etc. I don't know what the process is, so maybe you can enlighten us a little bit.
So it's always important to sort of go through these key channels, especially seeing that we're dealing with children and we want to make sure that we have all of those bases covered. So likely we are able to, but we do choose to go through the local government route. And also while we're engaging heads of schools, we want to just make sure that all the stakeholders of children are involved and are participating in the journey, just so it's a more inclusive journey and venture for us all.
Well, so do you want to tell us that, you know, for you to be able to do any of this training, you need some sort of approval from the government? Like, you know, if you're in Dar and you'd walk into Buni Hub and say you wanted to do a program with children, you need a pass for that?
Not necessarily, even though it is important. So we're registered and we're the government knows about us, and we have gone through all the appropriate channels to do all the necessary registrations. The trainings that we offer are out of school, and so oftentimes it's towards the teacher's own accord to participate in our trainings. However, we feel that it is always important to involve government as much as we can, because our hope and our vision is to see that our curriculums are integrated within the school systems to be able to benefit both public and private schools as well.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Nancy, for pitching. Are there any other questions, judges?
I guess one of my questions is just again around accessibility. So you spoke about the target of private schools and you're working with public schools. But what about young people who are in village environments that don't access it? I guess that what are you doing to challenge the inequality around the access to information for young people who don't and aren't based in cities and don't go to private school aligned with them?
Thanks so much for your question. So one of the ways is, so we do teacher trainings every month. And because we have an extensive network of teachers around the country, we work very closely with them, but also with community centers and public libraries to be able to make sure that we have access to teachers able to train in most of the areas around the country, but also through our learners packets, we're able to reach as many children in families as possible, where we can, through the small fee, they can be able to access the packets, and they can be able to then be a part of the challenge, notwithstanding the fact that they don't have access to tech tools or access to the internet, so to speak.
Thank you, thanks very much.
One more minute. Okay. All right. Thank you, judges, for the questions. Thank you, everyone else, for sticking with us up to this time. At this moment, we've already had from 5 solutions that have been pitched across the different sectors. We are going to take 5 minutes to listen to one of the judges to share reflection on these 5 pitches, and then we'll move on to the last 5 presentations. Welcome, Gidibo.
Thank you, Simon. So I'm going to give just collective feedback, especially with a lot of the education pitches that we've heard. I think in general, we have some assumptions that some products or services would improve education outcome, whether that means attendance or results. Through one of the people that pitch, you mentioned that education related products are hard to measure. And I don't think that's accurate. There are some qualitative factors that could be hard to measure, but there are some ways. I mean, the easiest ways to measure education outcomes is through the exam results that the government put on. That's an easy platform where you don't have to create your own system. And you only have to understand what intervention that you're putting together and how that affects the student outcomes. So in general, I would say it's important to understand if you're making an assumption that my product or my service will improve either education outcomes or school attendance, then follow it up with some sort of system that helps you track how that improvement is made. So for example, if a student interacts with your platform or your system, from that first interaction, do you have the background data to say, one of the examples that we've had is a student that got into the top 10 ranking in their class. Then you have a bit of background to say that this is the position they were before. And after interacting with our platform, regardless of any other intervention that are happening in their family or in their interaction with their school, then this is how my intervention has improved this specific student's outcomes. I think those could be, the way you track the impact could be difficult if it's qualitative, but if you're putting together quantitative indicators, then it's much easier to track and then to account for. Again, there was a huge, I would say, general gap in how each one of the pitches really told us today about how they're going to use the financial support that they're looking for. In so many cases, I didn't feel like I heard what would happen if you got this support and versus what would happen if you didn't. So it's not clear whether this support is changing anything within your organization or your solution. So again, one of the feedback that we had generally is also how do you articulate and quantify your impact? So you have an idea, you understand an idea, but then you're selling this idea to other people. So you have the problem and you know your solution, and you know your solution because you believe in this solution, but you actually have to get all of us to understand what exactly happens between where you identified the problem towards where you reach your solution, how this solution comes into play. Again, the costs breakdown and the structure of sustainability for most of the pitches was not clear. Some of the pitches we've heard literally didn't have a sustainability plan. It felt like it's a one-off situation, and in some cases, it was absolutely not connected to the COVID situation that we're addressing here. Thank you, Simon.
Thank you so much, Gidibo, for that reflection. We are going into the second half of this pitch webinar. And I would like to introduce the next startup that is going to be pitching, Thai Tanzania. Thai Tanzania uses storytelling through 3D animation video as a knowledge sharing modality in the creation of social behavior change. Thai Tanzania have produced and disseminated 3D animation to raise awareness on COVID-19, to create positive mental attitude, protection, safety, and promoting the community members to be of service to others in fighting this pandemic. Welcome Ian Tarimo from Thai Tanzania for your pitch.
Thank you very much, Simi. Hi, everyone. As I was introduced, my name is Ian.
Share your screen, Ian.
Okay, just a minute. Okay, my name is Ian Tarimo, and I'm from Thai Tanzania. I'm here to present our solution, and it's called Chapa Corona. Thai Tanzania is a registered NGO with 7 years of experience, and we believe that education is a powerful tool for solving current problems and shaping the future. Our vision is a society transformed by young people with easy access to information. Our mission is to empower young people in communities across Tanzania by increasing access to information through creative storytelling and media technology that influence positive behavior. So back to the problem that the challenge that we have in front of us is Corona-19. And since 2019, COVID-19 has spread rapidly around the world, and Tanzania being among the countries that is affected. And in Tanzania right now, as we speak, the government has reopened schools, high school and university, and it means it's the high time for the right information to be spread in order to tackle the problem of misinformation and ignorance that might cause a very big problem. And we want to ensure that we support the Ministry of Health by making sure that as young people are going back to school, they have all the necessary information to make sure that they take the necessary precautions, because as we all know, there is no medicine and there's no vaccination. Our approach, we leverage the power of combining storytelling and technology. We have the experience of combining these things, and at the end of the day, we have a power of content that inspires behavior change among young people. And I will want to have a snapshot of one of our content that we've created around COVID-19 that has taken home a very powerful message to young people, especially from informal settlement. Apart from the, sorry to cut you short because of time, apart from the animation, such kind of animation we produce for the community to consume the message, we also have comic posters. This is an alternative to the video. We know that some of our schools and communities don't have access to television, internet, or they may not be able to come across our video. So around the school compounds, we always have this kind of posters, which is an alternative to the animated video. Our team has over 7 years of experience in running different projects in the development sector. We have 10 full-time employees, 6 consultants, and 2 interns that are full-time in the office. But we also have other resources like the studio and the necessary equipment for production. We have the office space, and we also have a network of people who work together in order to be able to develop the story, produce, and disseminate. We are part of one of the most important network in addressing this challenge, and that is the risk communication and community engagement under the Ministry of Health, where we have been working together with them in addressing COVID-19. An impact so far, we have been able to reach over 100,000 young people across the country, and also we have reached 3,000 that is direct, reaching them physically. We are expert in social behavioral communication, and we've created a number of animated videos. At the same time, we prefer that when we get this money from HDIF, we want to use 15% of that in the pre-production. That involves going back to the communities that we target and get the real stories that we transform them into production, and then we disseminate through different channels, including school visits, school clubs, as well as social media and traditional media. And out of that, we take 10% for indirect costs. Thank you very much.
Yeah, just welcome for questions.
Thank you. I'd like to go first. Hi, Ian. Great presentation. With the funding that you're requesting for, how many animated videos do you expect to be able to make with funding?
We plan to create 4 short animated videos.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Ian. What's the you have for the 4 videos that you can use for this challenge?
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
What is the target reach that you want to accomplish with this 4?
So right now, the goal that is within our control, we want to reach 1,000 young people, but we already been in discussion with the Ministry of Health, because currently the Ministry of Health want to push a message that Corona is still there, take precautions. So that is one of the main message that wants to be given to all the students who are going back to school. And the government has different committees that are already have presence in different schools across the country. So with this amount of money, when we produce, because these messages are within the Ministry of Health, so when we produce, the Ministry of Health will be the one giving the approval, but at the same time, because we've already been supporting them, they are going to actually use this message to disseminate across the country. So if you ask me, I would say this message has a potential to go across the country, but at the same time, as Thai Tanzania, we want to have this message and use social media and digital platform that is over 1 million reach within this period of COVID-19 pandemic.
And yes, Ian, so just a quick one. So what is the plan to reach out to the people in remote areas? We know it's easy for people in the cities to, like log into social medias or, get them through WhatsApp groups. But what about the people in the villages? How are you planning to get your message to them?
As I explained, we are part of the risk communication under the Ministry of Health, and within that there are different subgroup, and there are different partners who are across the country. And within that subgroups, there are groups that are responsible for development and production of content, but there are also partners that are already stationed in different levels in the country, from the government itself to other partners, who are not experienced in production, but they're very good in terms of community mobilization and dissemination. And our job really is, I would say, is the production side. In the dissemination, we already have partners who have high demand of our content.
But you also have dissemination budget in your ask, no?
Yes. So currently we are planning. So we have three types of products, and that is the video, the music itself, which is like audio, and we also have the comic posters. So with the audio, there's an organization called TADIO. It's like a coalition of all the local radios. And by working with them, if we give them the audios, they can play and you can reach people that are, because radio is still the #1 source of information in the country. So by giving them the audio or the music, we can still send the message home. And for those who are in the cities and they have access to TV and smartphone, like the internet, so we have the animation. So we have those kind of three because we're trying to target.
Hi, Ian. I've got 2 questions. One is sort of a follow-on, but in one of your earlier slides, you showed that you were able to reach about 100,000 people. I wanted to hear from you whether whether that was your target or whether you kind of exceeded your target, and how you intend to scale from 100,000 views to up to 1 million views, if not more. you've talked about these different communication channels, so I just want to understand that a little bit better. And then I guess the second question is with regards to measuring change in hygiene practices or behaviors. You know, how do you intend to actually demonstrate that by listening to your messages or seeing your video, that there is going to be an improvement in terms of these practices, which, you know, in essence will result in a reduction of transmission of the virus?
Thank you very much, Zahra. So the number that I've shared, the 100,000, that is merely a number that we reach through our own social media, and that does not include, because we do not have funds for this, we do not have fund for dissemination. So that is merely the money, the people we reach through our own social media. So we estimate that we are going to be able to reach 10 times what we have reached so far, because we plan to use social media that is sponsored. We can reach more people, but at the same time we can use traditional media, and that is television and radio. So that being said, that's how we plan to move from the current number we have that of using our own social media into using other channels that are mainstreamed, and we can reach, I think we can reach more than 10 times the number we have reached so far. In terms of how we will be able to measure the behavior change, so in Temeke, we have like around 10 schools that we work with, and these for us are more of the way this is where we normally get our stories. This because we don't create story from the office. This is where we get our stories, and this is when we finish our production. We normally take back to that community, and we show them the animation, and they give us feedback, because we have different ways of measuring feedback after they've seen the animation. And apart from that, in that subgroup I was talking about, there is a specific organization that is responsible for tracking the messages that are online, as well as tracking the changes, the behavior change that are caused by the initiative that the partners are working towards this pandemic. So there are ways we measure by ourselves, but since we are not working alone, we are working with other partners. There are ways that other partners are the ones that are measuring and telling us which message was more effective, which message was not understood. So there are other partners that are doing that, but because we cannot just wait for other partners, we are also doing it by ourselves.
Okay.
Focusing in Temeke.
Thank you, Ian, for answering the questions. I'd like to take us to the next solution that is going to be pitched, and that is Rover Labs Tanzania. Rover Labs Tanzania is a digital solution that provides completely free e-consults and education to patients to try and alleviate their anxiety needs 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, until the COVID-19 pandemic disappears in Tanzania. Welcome, Atish, to pitch your solution.
Thank you. I need to, okay.
Yes, share your screen.
1 second. Hello, everybody. My name is Atish Shah. I'm a doctor working in the intensive care unit at Muhimbili National Hospital. So Rover Labs was really born when my closest colleague got infected with COVID-19. And I, being a doctor working in the ICU, swiftly recognized the need to medically advise and educate patients by reducing the physical interaction between two parties to a minimum. Our slogan is where geography becomes history. So as healthcare workers, we saw three main problems that are affecting the country. The first one is that hospitals are a hotspot for contracting COVID-19, and sometimes access to a hospital may be limited. There's a lot of myths and a lot of misinformation on COVID-19 circulating in the media. And a hospital in a low resource setting has a significant burden due to the influx of patients. So we designed a solution, which is a bilingual web-based platform, which is just 2 clicks away from accessing a doctor's advice. So the web page is bilingual, and you just literally need 2 clicks of the mouse to access a doctor. So these are the benefits of the 3 main benefits of our platform. Patients can save costs. There is a decrease in risk both to the patient and to the healthcare worker of contracting COVID-19. And our service is available around the clock. So this platform is just a month old, and in the past month, so we started on May 3rd till now, we have around 2,550 patient requests, and we project that in the next 3 months, this can be raised up to, or we can have 10,000 patient engagements. So these are our competitors, you know, they are private hospitals like Aga Khan. We also have the government hotline, but what differentiates us from them is that we provide free medical advice. We also provide therapy for mental health. Others are already known. We are user-friendly. We are available 24/7. And we provide health education for people who might be anxious. These are our sources of revenue in the future. For now, it's completely free. So we'll be charging a minimal fee for online psychological consults. We'll also be putting healthcare AdWords. We'll also be charging a minimal fee for imaging and lab result review. We'll be monitoring patients remotely in quarantine and in isolation, and also in rural areas. And we'll be linking non-COVID patients to specialist doctors. This is a detailed budget. So let me just take you through it. Most of the cost goes in making a web page, a web application, and also a tele website. I'm not very conversant in making a website, although I made this one by the use of templates. But I think I need the funds. The funds will be used in the website and the application. The other costs which you can see. So this is a projected budget for 6 months. Yeah. We have 2 partners as of now, Tuaweza and Moments Production. These help us in IT and tech. This came pretty late after we had made the website. And we have support from lawyers, product design engineers, and us, doctors. We are a team of 8 doctors. All of them are very well versed in treating COVID-19 patients, and some of them have been among the first to see the very first COVID-19 patients in Tanzania. The challenges we face, we are very new and inexperienced. So logistics, managing and administration when running our organization. Of course, we need funds to scale up. I guess if we get this grant, the support we need from HDIF is skills in management of teams, identification of new markets and partnerships, because we want to go outside Tanzania. I mean, the market is very big. And mentorship. Mentorship is very important because we need someone who has knowledge in startups, because this is very new for us. Thank you.
Judges, welcome for questions.
All right, Dr. Shah, thank you for that presentation. And you know, it's clear that there is a real problem out there that that you're trying to solve, and this is a really good initiative to try to address some of the misinformation and increase access to medical professionals. I guess I've got maybe 2 questions. So one is with regards to your team. So I'm really glad that there are medical professionals on the team to make sure that the information is really grounded in science. I do worry that there isn't enough expertise with regards to maybe the development of, you know, digital applications and websites and entrepreneurship. So I guess the question is, you know, what plans do you have in place to improve the overall kind of diversity of your team? That's one. And then the second question, it kind of goes to a question that Miriam has been asking in some of her previous questions, is really around reach. So what's your estimation in terms of the size of the market? You mentioned it's huge, but what does that actually mean? And how do you intend to be able to reach rural communities? Is that part of your target market, or is that something that you haven't yet included in your market projections?
Okay, thank you, Zara. I'll start with the second question. When I say the market is huge, I mean that when you go to figures, telehealth, telemedicine, they have a revenue of $45 billion around the world. So this is the amount of market we are talking about. In Africa and the Middle East, it's about $5 billion. I've been doing my research. It's pretty new in East Africa and Tanzania, so I did not get good figures about that. I have to do my research about that. What was your first question?
It was around access to rural populations and areas where they may not have digital literacy.
Yes. So initially when we're starting, everyone who has a smartphone can access our service. And as we get the funds, or when we increase our partnerships, we'll be hiring professionals who can, have expertise with, USSD, sending SMS to people in rural areas and knowing how to engage them in that respect. Yes.
And then just the diversity of the team. So what actions have you taken, or what are your approaches in terms of just getting the right team in place?
Yes. So we have been talking to our partners, to AWEZA. They have promised us to help us with IT support, but this is recent. I mean, we have got them in the just past 10 days or 2 weeks. So yeah, definitely they are going to help us with the IT part. We are also in talks with our colleagues who can help us fill in gaps which we don't have. Thank you.
I think it's just to follow on from that question, and it's come up, I guess, quite a lot as well. But in my experience, sometimes if you find a market that can pay, it's very hard, or there's less motivation to think about the beneficiaries who can't pay, but actually do truly need your service. So I guess beyond that, say you get the funding and you have the resource to be able to provide that support, how are you going to ensure beneficiaries that can't pay for your service can access what you provide?
Thank you for your question. There's always going to be a component which is going to be free in this initiative, and that is primary healthcare. So anything that is non-specialist oriented or question is always going to be free, and we are planning to put mental health therapy, CBT, as a service not to be charged from. So I'm currently in talks with my team, and we are very new, but yeah, I think I can give you feedback about that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And one thing I'd just urge then, also think about culturally appropriate therapies as well. There's a uniqueness of Tanzania, and there's different ways that people access support. And CBT is quite a Western approach, and it's an individualistic model. And there's a lot of things maybe locally that can support people's mental health. So maybe within the team, think about culturally appropriate methods that can support. It's just a comment on that.
I'll definitely take that into account.
So Atish, thank you for your presentation. I was just going through the website right now, and I'm wondering, what exactly is this operational, or are you pitching to actually get funding to actually make it up?
This is actually operational, so you can go click on that icon and type something, and one of the doctors will get to you. I mean, I can get your message right now.
Okay.
All right. Thanks for the question, judges. Thank you, Atish, for pitching. We'll go to the next solution, which is MITS Group Company Limited. MITS, they are the makers of the MITS kit, which is a $13 science kit that is portable, relevant, and simple with unique science tools. a user guide, and a worksheet for students to perform more than 20 science experiments and play with over 200 scientific observations while recording them. The model is designed to reflect the official science syllabus used in Tanzania. Welcome, Kelvin, to pitch.
Thank you very much. Oh, yes. Here it is. Oh, so my name is Kelvin Paul. I'm from MITZ Group Company Limited. Yes, I love very much teachers because they gave me something, a certain inheritance that is conflict-free forever, which is education. And one teacher told me that according to Edgar Dare, the students or any learner tends to remember 90% of what they learn by doing. So in response to that, this COVID-19 has put every kid on the at home studying without practical activities. They learn through different theoretical content, the platforms like television and smartphones or wherever the contents are delivered to. But what if we can have a lab, a $13 lab? Of course, our aim is to put the whole lab in a $10 box. You can see this. If you have already viewed that video, a kid is just demonstrating different science theories at home on the studying table, which is a self-learning based science kit, of course, and it improvises simplicity, fun, and relevance so that it can help students to bridge the gap between reality and theories they learn through the textbooks. Of course, the process is very simple. Students get the whole value of the kit through these 3 steps. And one thing very unique in our kit is that the student gets a chance to record, analyze, and conclude out of the experiment setup. Yes, we have reached over 6,500 students during our prototype testing. And of course, we have just entered the market, and now the response has been good. Up to this week, we have just sold more than 100 kits to the parents, helping the students to learn through practical activities. Yeah, there are other key players, Project Inspire, like First Solar Electronics, Dex Technology, and globally, our inspiration is Lego. But through our research, we learned that the students to get the value of out of the teaching aid, it has to be first customizable, and then it has to be aligned with the syllabus so that he or she can get the value that can be used even in the examinations. So it just have to be it doesn't have to just to be for fun. Of course, we give them the chance to record and analyze the observations from the experiment, which is the feature no competitor is offering. We are selling the kits. That's how we are making the business, and we're sustaining our solution. If we get this 30 million Tanzanian shillings, 70% will be going to production expansion, because that is the area which hinders us to get to the target of $10 kit. And of course, 22% will be used for marketing and promotion. We are aspired to use it to produce 150 Swahili version kits so that we can help other marginalized kids in Tanzania. And of course, we need to increase the scope of this concept to include in the kits, and then we'll use 80% for research and development. Here is the A team behind our work. We have Evelyn Matandiko. She is a chief business officer. She has been working with the startups and coaching different businesses in the Lake Zone for more than 10 years. And of course, Frank Pasco is the greatest guy who loves the research more than the bet. And we are working with other advisors they are shaping us toward the right direction. We believe Mr. Lucian Vingeze is the EduTech PhD scholar. And of course, Kiza Majaliwa is the 10 years experienced science teacher in Lexon. And Cleophas Cyprian is a 5 years experienced TRI worker with CPA holding certificate. Of course, we have partnered with Costec and CEDO through the production of the first type of a kit and to pilot it to the first customers. Yes, we are seeking for funding and other potential partners in distribution, especially in marketing and promotion. Yes, that's all. Thanks very much.
All right. Welcome, judges, for questions.
Hi there, thanks for the presentation. So where do you source your materials for the kits?
Most of the materials we build in our lab. Of course, I'm an electronics engineer and we have that science, natural scientist. So we mostly emphasize using the local materials to build the kits that can be easily adaptable by the students without outsourcing a lot of materials out the Tanzania. So most of them are locally found in Tanzania.
Thank you, thank you.
Hi, great presentation. I might have missed this during your presentation. Do you produce the kits and teach the students how to use them? Or do you do either, one of the activities only?
Oh, thank you very much. Well, we produce the kits and sell them to parents. Right now, more than 100 parents are using the kits for the, I have given the kits to the students at home. As you have seen in that video, a student using the kit, and it is a self-learning based kit. It's a laboratory on the home studying table, which a student can use it without any assistance.
So you train the parents on how to use the kits and then they teach, or how easy is it for the children to use the kits by themselves?
Okay, it's very easy. At the first time, our idea was to sell to the teachers, to the schools. So we had a challenge when the COVID-19 came. We had to switch the user guide to make it self-learning. So it has a user guide and a worksheet for students to play. It's like a toy, but it is aligned to the curriculum.
Okay, so one final question: Have you thought of maybe? Well, this is a more sustainable one, rather, to work with teachers and maybe other companies that are relying on items like this to teach children or have involvement with teaching children, like Jenga, for instance.
Come again, please.
Have you thought of working with teachers in the future to train them, to sort of like to do TOTs, so for them to be able to train the children in schools on how to use your kits, or working with other organizations that are working with children to sort of like use their kits, use your kits in sort of like their training, like what Jenga Hub is already doing.
Oh, thanks very much. Yes, of course, that's our plan. We are now helping the students at home, but our plan after the COVID-19, every student will be accessible easily at school. So we are working we are having a plan to engage the teachers, especially science teachers, so that they can use our kits during the normal classes. Now a science teacher is having a trouble in preparing the experiments. It takes a lot of time and it takes some resources, but with a $10 kit, a teacher can have maybe 10 kits in the class and use them to teach the students. Of course, other key players like NGOs and other hubs, they engage with students or kids. We are having this plan to use our kits for them, to give them our kits so that they can use to teach the students or to play with the kids. And of course, we are having ongoing discussion with ASAP technology, ASAP NGO, and NGO from Dar es Salaam, they are working hard to emphasize the students to take some subjects, so they are ready to buy the kits from us when the COVID-19 is over. Maybe they will be using our kits to science subjects in the classes.
And so who's your primary customer? Is it the school? Is it the teachers who are teaching science subjects, or is it the parents?
Right now, our primary customer is the parent, because they have the kids at home. But after COVID-19, or even before COVID-19, we were thinking, and we are still thinking on selling them to schools. So the schools will be the next primary customers.
All right, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Chiz, for the questions. We are going to go on to the next solution that is going to be pitched today, which is called Visual Aided Stories. Visual Aided Stories creates Pan-African murals that are brilliant intersection of arts and advertising, combining visually compelling designs with advertising messages as a unique model of talking to the society. This is human-centered. The murals are part art and part ad. Welcome, Emmanuel Mushi, to pitch your idea.
Thank you so much. Let me start with sharing my screen.
Yes, please.
Okay, hi, I'm Emmanuel Mushi, and I'm humbled today and excited to present Visual Aided Stories. Now, the World Bank estimates 70% of Dar es Salaam's population live in marginalized communities, characterized by low income, low literacy, and poor sanitation systems, while majority of these residents are at high risk to be affected by COVID-19. And with low literacy, a lot of them fail to process COVID-19 communication that is mainly generated from abroad and in foreign languages. Hand sanitizer is a good example of a custom only introduced to these neighborhoods after the spread of the pandemic. Now, our solution is a Pan-African mural approach, which is a brilliant intersectionality between arts and advertising to connect, educate, and inspire behavioral change. So our murals really are a modern form of public art that are usually hand-painted in public spaces that combine compelling design with visually pleasing, compelling design with socially uplifting message. And murals have gone even further to psychologically being proven to connect with humans on an emotional level. So for instance, in March, we installed a mural artwork of a beautiful African lady we named Karina, which highlighted the importance of good hygiene and social distancing measures. And then we plugged in a digital arm, and our mural ended up engaging over 100,000 people across Tanzania. A month later, we went back to the community to conduct a survey to measure the impact of the mural, and found that our mural created top-of-mind awareness while urging immediate action. It was also fascinating to find that our mural being at the corner of the neighborhood went to further reinforce believability and the magnitude on the issue. Some of the socio-economic implications included civic engagement, growth in citizen pride, with some of the pedestrians saying, at least now we have something of a mural that the Masaki people don't have, they should come see our mural. And we also ended up influencing some of the locals to start selling face masks right next to our mural site. So based on this work, Swiss Embassy came on board and is now helping to support us scale Karina mural story to 3 other neighborhoods. However, we still face challenges such as lack of connection to both private and public sectors and access to public prime spaces and large-scale buildings. So despite these challenges that we are facing, VAS aims to scale Zingatia COVID-19 campaign to 10 other populated neighborhoods and be able to install washing station in each of these mural sites so that people could take action while engaging with the mural. To achieve this, we are seeking partnership and financial support of worth $20,365. So our business really is a good hybrid of both profit and non-profit. So in the long run, what we are looking at is to build strategic partnership with both private and public sectors, specifically targeting like tourism sectors and corporate brands. I'm privileged to have a dynamic and visionary team led by myself, Mohammed Karsan and Naziria too, who combine years of business experience and art entrepreneurship ventures. We have a creative space where we call VASAB. This is where we utilize a network of 1,000 artists that we have built to collaborate, brainstorm, and maintain these Pan-African murals. So at the end, really, our desire is to be able to develop the next generation of Pan-African Picassos that will transform their communities into unique and vibrant destinations and be able to elevate humanity. Thank you very much.
Welcome, judges, for questions.
Hi. Thank you. Sorry, thank you. I really like the presentation. Thinking about the sort of, I guess, technology side or innovation side, because I think it's so innovative around sharing and spreading messages. You spoke about sort of having wash facilities near murals. How are you currently mobilizing the artists that you've got? If you've got 1,000 people, do you have any platform or on, and how do you engage with them to be able to sort of then create art locally where they are?
Okay, great. So I've mentioned earlier that we have VASAB, which is our creative space, and it's open for a lot of artists which are nearby to be able to come brainstorm different concepts and be able to map out different ideas to iron them and shape them. But we also have WhatsApp groups that has over 1,000 artist groups, which are not only located here, like we have the Kala Mwanza, which are based in Mwanza, we have Kalada, we have Frontline. So we have a really good WhatsApp group that we share ideas, dialogues, and so forth.
Thank you. Thanks.
Hi, Emmanuel. Thank you for the presentation. Cool. You mentioned that one of the effects of the mural is it raised awareness, created like top mind awareness. How do you know this?
So I mentioned that a month after installing the mural, we went back to the community to measure the impact. And here we borrowed a public art evaluation tool from UK, which has 4 metrics: aesthetic value, social value, environmental value, and economic value. So whilst we asked about the mural, the biggest insight we got is that most of the residents have heard about COVID-19 communication on radio. And so it went as far as being another thing that they hear on TV and radio. But as soon as they saw our mural at the corner of the neighborhood, it kind of struck their minds, and it kind of created that mental image that, okay, this is now serious. It's even in our neighborhood. And so we have to pay attention.
Hi. I really like the creativity. I like the image. I like the local context. I want to ask you a question about the budget, though. So you mentioned this $20,000 budget, and you talked about how some of it would be used to procure hand washing stations. But can you provide more of a detailed breakdown in terms of how you derive that number? Maybe where you're looking to focus, and just some more like clarity in terms of the costing.
Ideas, and then from there we created different ideas that we picked the main best one that we are going to be able to map out. Then from there we go to market survey to look for public art spaces, and so this is where we look for places that have a lot of pedestrian traffic and a lot of people passing by. And from there, that's when we go to a mural installation, and this is where we buy art tools and resources to be able to do our mural articles on ground. Then during all this process, we have content creators which are collecting all these contents so that we could later on tell our story on digital marketing, digital spaces. So at the end of the day, it's a combination of all different aspects together that afterwards we are able to then install washing stations by providing supplies such as soaps, hand sanitizer, and running water. So by doing that, the last washing station part is where we really need to maintain it, able to fill water if it's running out of height. We should be able to refill soaps and hand sanitizer. So it's a complete 360
okay, and then I may
movement.
have missed it, but how are you planning to generate revenue? So how will you sustain, you know, your initiative going forward? So what will you be doing to generate revenue?
Okay, so I've mentioned that we are on process. We are actually on ground already making efforts to seek private and public sector partnerships. So for instance, one of our external board member is the Honorable MP, Madam Lulida, who also sits in the TANAPA Board of Representatives. TANAPA is Tanzania National Parks. So we are seeking a way to tap into tourism sectors to be able to create murals around that side. And that's just one aspect. The other angle we are really looking at is the, like last month, we had an opportunity to pitch to UN. UN knows our work and what we are doing, and we were aware that UN launched people-driven global conversation this year on how we could shape our future. Equally, visual arts as a part, and we went on to present how we could be able to do that. So that's another partner that we are still in talks with. Then we are looking forward to look for corporate brands like Coca-Cola, so that we could be able to bridge the gap between them and the intended audience, given that our murals would enrich our environment and have an aesthetic value.
Okay.
I have another two short questions. I like the approach. You know, it's very simple. It's very close to the people, and you can reach a lot of people. So that's awesome. But if you would win the HDIF prize, how many murals would you actually paint in Tanzania?
So it really depends with when we conduct a market survey and we be able to get the free public wall spaces, given the different measures, measurement of wall sizes.
If you imagine, you could have all the spaces that you want, and they can be as big as you want. So what would you do with that money?
We're looking to target around 15 to 20 murals, around 10 to 20 neighborhoods.
Okay, good. And then assuming that, let's say half of the cost goes into the water stations, like a mural is usually around $500. Is this true?
It's not necessarily true. As I mentioned earlier, it's given with the different materials we use. So some of the public wall spaces will be able to use acrylic paint, and others will be able to only use spray paint. So it really depends with the material. Like the one we actually did, we did not get the right materials we wanted from, we wanted to order them from abroad, but we had to incorporate and use the standard materials that we currently use. So it's subjective, really, depending on a scale of a mural and the different measurements of the wall size.
Okay, and then one last short question, because you exist for a couple of years, I think. So what is your total revenue over the past years in selling murals in Tanzania?
Let me bring this to your attention, is that we only started operating January 2020, but it's something we've been piloting and developing for the past 10 months. So we have not been able yet to fully hit the ground running. So we are on our early stages of seeking partnerships and be able to map out from there.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you so much, Emmanuel, for your pitch, and thank you, judges, for the questions. The next solution we are going to listen to, which is the last solution, is from Twende Social Innovation Center. So Twende Social Innovation Center is taking an initiative to flatten the curve by educating and training the local community and artisans to make local technology that will reduce the spread of the virus. Let's welcome John Zira to pitch.
Thank you, Simon.
How do you
So I'll tell you about Twende and how we're responding to COVID-19 challenge. Twende is a social innovation center that seeks to empower the community to solve their problems through local technology. We do this through a number of programs and collaborations that we aim to reach our vision of more local technological solutions to local challenges. So we've noticed a problem that there's little access to safe and easy to use hand washing devices, where most of them are expensive, and the other problem is lack of skills and knowledge on how to make hand washing devices. And our hand washing devices that have been tested are foot operated, that is pedal operated. So our solution is to make and avail as many hand washing stations as possible and provide free training while doing it. We've come up with a building workshop that will enable participants to have a hands-on experience on how to make these locally available devices through locally available materials, and which are affordable. We have different models that have been proved, tested, and well received by the public. So that's one of our successes. And so far we've trained 4 people. And I'm proud to say that one of our program graduates from last year, Joseph Sangataifa, has been able to use his skills to come up with innovative solutions. So far, he's sold more than 150 of his hand washing stations, and he's still making more. In regard to this challenge, we have also a challenge of few workshop tools which won't be able to accommodate 60 participants that we aim to reach out to in the next 3 months, and having trainers who will come on board as consultants. So far, our impact has been with that. We've reached more than 1,000 users in Arusha through the TV tabs that we've provided, and we aim to reach more than 100,000 in the next 5 months. Our building workshop will also benefit more than 60 families. We aim to collaborate with different organizations, individuals, and stakeholders. And so far, we've identified Okolili Secondary School and Educational Training Center as a place where we can start with. It's a school where we can start with because they also have a makerspace and they have the students and the right skill sets for us to do that. In terms of sustainability, Twende is a credible organization. And I would say that credible funding partners and over 100 individual donors. We aim to use this prize to strengthen our organization capacity for us to do more programs like this, and for us to be able to reach the underserved communities of Tanzania. This is our team, and we believe we are dedicated, and we believe that the community is creative enough to do more with less. So in terms of your support, we need your support for us to reach more local innovators like Joseph Sangataifa, who are making life-improving technologies. And for us to also support entrepreneurs to start up their businesses. But most importantly is to inspire a more talented Tanzania. Please reach out to us for such solutions. Thank you.
Welcome, judges, for questions.
Thank you for the presentation. One thing that I didn't hear at all was how you're going to spend the support that you're asking from HDIF.
Okay, great. In terms of the support that we'll get from HDIF, we're planning to have a Build It workshop for 3 months, where we'll train local artisans and the local community for them to be able to reach to to make these devices which are easily available. So we're going to use the workshop that we're going to have in the next few months is how we're going to spend the funding.
And then just to add to that, I may have missed it, but again, how are you going to recover these costs? Like, what's your revenue generating model? Where will you generate your income from?
So we, in terms of our income, we have funding partners, but at the same time through our training programs, which are paid training programs from different stakeholders, we use that to subsidize the costs in terms of reaching out to underserved communities and public schools for that matter. But at this moment, in this project, we've also, for this project specifically to be sustainable, we've also initiated a crowdfunding pause where people could donate for us to be able to do it more. But in terms of our capacity as organization is using the training that we paid funding from the trainings that we do, and also the funding partners and contacts that we have.
Okay.
Any other question, judges?
I guess would have, sorry, hi, so it questioned maybe comment that you spoke about the money going to workshops, but actually you have a range of innovators who are creating things. And I guess my initial thought was that actually you were redistributing the money to those innovators to act upon it. When thinking about, I guess, the sustainability of doing the workshops or supporting local innovators, how do you think that they can be helped beyond that workshop time to be able to continue their businesses as well?
Yes, that's what we do mostly here at Twende. We partner them. At times, since Twende, we focus on the education sector, but we also support them in terms of connecting them to different stakeholders, the investors and our partners that can provide such skill sets for them to be able to be sustainable. But for us, we provide the technical support for them to actually prototype their innovations and make them marketable products.
Hi, John. Just a build-up question, right? So what are the risks of, at this time when, we're being pressed by the circumstances? Would it be more, viable to support Joseph's capacity at this moment, as opposed to spending 3 more months making more Josephs in the process?
Yes, our aim is to empower the community, and we, as much as we're proud of Joseph, we also want to empower others too to do that, because he's already in a position to sustain himself in terms of funding. We've already collaborated in terms of making him able to reach out to potential partners and funders, but we're thinking that more people need this in the underserved communities. Instead of them importing or buying these things, they can also make them on their own. So far, we aim to empower them in that way, instead of just reaching out to one person who's distributing. So we're aiming to have more Joseph Taifas who will come up with different solutions.
But is Joseph capable of training people while he's actually, making this systems? Is he able to bring in some people to class as well?
Yes.
So are you planning to use that platform, or you're making a different platform?
This is a separate platform, but we'll also we will be grateful if he does that. He's doing right now, he's doing establishing his makerspace right now in Dar es Salaam, which is good, but our focus right now would start with the community that's near us, where we can afford to reach them. And if we need his expertise, we'll reach out to him in terms of long term, and if he's available for this one too. And for that matter, we'll also he'll be able to support us.
And who owns the technology? Sorry, is it Joseph or Twende?
Oh, so with this, his model is quite different from us. He's used his own different model. For us, we've come up with a different model, different from him. His technology is quite different, but it's solving the same problem.
John, just a quick follow-up. I guess the big question here that myself, and I think maybe that's where Myram is coming from, is, you know, looking at your proposed budget, you're looking at around 6.8 million monthly in the next 3 months. What's the higher value between training 20 other people monthly for the next until August versus trying to expand an existing business that's already produced a product that's usable in the market?
Yeah, okay, great question. So as I said before, our aim is for us to empower them. So we have local artisans right now who can give these skills, who are able to use these skills, and we have the ability to empower them. As I said before, we have, and we are proud to have one of the people who has made such innovations. Our focus will be for more people to be able to make on their own instead of just buying them. They could use different models, not just even ours, they could even use even simpler models because we are focused on the skill sets that we provide.
All right. Thank you so much, judges, for your questions. Thank you for all those who have pitched. Thank you, John, for your pitch. We have managed to listen to all the solutions pitched today. So congratulations to everybody for sticking throughout that time. Please stick around for some time as we conclude. At this moment, I'd like to welcome Naomi, one of the judges, to just give a brief reflection on the 5 pitches that we just had.
Hey, brilliant. Thanks very much for that. And thank you for everybody who has pitched today. I know what it's like to pitch and to prepare things, and everything was so clear. And we really got a good insight into the projects and the work you're doing. Before I reflect, I think, on the actual pitches we've just had, one of the things that struck me was that I didn't really see the uniqueness of Tanzania in a lot of the pitches. And my sadness comes in the fact that I believe technology is an enabler. It shouldn't exacerbate the rich and the poor divide. It should enable a wide range of people to be able to access education, access health. And that's what our responsibility is as innovators, to make sure as many people can access that. So when I think about like a child in a village in Rungwe, if they could access the majority of these innovations, I question that. And that's something I think we've all got to step back and look at, because it's an exciting sector and we all want to do good. But actually part of that can mean that we're also strengthening the divide between people. And so that's something I just think that is just really important for us all to think about, how the technology that we're doing is playing a positive role and the impact of that. And that comes, I guess, from some of the presentations as well. And I think that you can see maybe from some of the questions that the judges are asking, in the sense that, you know, we are interested in what is born within the community, what massive amounts of people can access, and the majority of people are living in village environments, and so we need to think about how technology can be supporting people living in those rural environments as well. And so that's just something I think from, again, the afternoon, the reflections, it's really, really important for us to think about. And, you know, it's great to think about the power of the crowd. I've seen in the questions that a lot of people have said the majority of people pitching could really work with each other as well. And I think that there's definitely synergies around how people can collaborate to strengthen their work and strengthen the access of the work that they're doing. And just to think about scale, because I think a lot of people spoke about some scale, and some were saying we want to scale outside of Tanzania and, you know, East Africa and globally. But, you know, there's 54 million plus people. Think about scale locally, and try to think about how you can create a robust organization that can provide support for people who can't pay. Because that's social impact. You know, how can you do that? And that's through sponsorship, that's through thinking about your models. And, you know, sometimes we're so focused on the financial structures, we forget about who we're impacting as well with that. That being said, it's important to think about where the money's going, and it's important to think about how that is going to be returned. And I think that one of the things that was maybe we needed a bit more clarity around was, okay, you know what, you have this amount, how is it going to have an impact? What numbers of people are going to be seen? How is it going to go beyond a session or a workshop? And how are you going to be able to demonstrate that to yourselves, but also to other people as well? So they're just, I guess, a few remarks. Always think of a young person. And if you haven't been recently, go, you know, travel and meet people, go to the rural areas, go to the village and ask people and see if people can use those tools, because actually that will give you the knowledge and the research that you need to be able to shift and adapt. And I'll assure you that if you're looking for funding or looking for investment, that's the difference with Tanzanian-led innovations, because that's not what you can get in the UK, or it's not what you can get in other different places as well. So my rant's over. Thank you very much. And it's been a pleasure to be a part of it as well.
All right. I think you've already taken us to the next part where the judges come and just give their remarks and thanks. So I would just give a round to all the judges on my screen. Zara.
Yeah, I think Naomi concluded very nicely. I think I just want to thank you all for your participation, for your professionalism, for the thoughtfulness that went into your ideas. And I think really, like, for all of us coming together to try to find solutions during, you know, this COVID period and beyond. So, you know, I want to thank HDIF for organizing this on such short notice. And, you know, we always say it's about, you know, the intention, you know, not about being perfect at this stage. So again, I just, you know, I want to thank everybody for the participation. I think I agree with everything Naomi said, and I don't think I could have said it better.
Thank you so much. Gidibo?
Thank you. Thank you first to HDIF for organizing this, putting this together. And you know, I think the window period for applications and everything else was really a very quick turnaround. Again, thank you for everyone who pitched today. I think there were really interesting ideas. It's interesting that with the limited resources that there has to be this process of making a decision, but I think there were great ideas altogether instead of a lot of unique ways to like support different communities. Lastly, I would like to thank fellow judges for being here. Lots of insights came out that would push us to also think of the different projects that we work with individually in our own spheres. So thank you very much. It's been a great opportunity. Thank you.
Mariam?
Thank you, Simon, and everyone. The people who pitched, really nice pitches, really nice efforts you've made in such a short time. But again, when we go back to, I don't think I could have said anything better than what Naomi and all the other judges have said, right? So, well, you know, we've been in the industry for a while. I mean, all of us have been a witness to, you know, what the ecosystem locally can provide, right? So if you look at what everybody else is doing, everybody's going towards a web solution or an app or, you know, all these digital fancy solutions. But again, this is just the minor population that everybody is trying to reach to. And it's understandable, right? So it's a low-hanging fruit. It's, you know, something is the population that you can reach quickly, you can get your numbers quickly, you can make money out of it quickly. So it's understandable. But again, when you look at the reality, the majority of people facing these challenges are not in the cities, right? So they're in the villages, they're in remote areas where, you know, a smartphone is still a puzzle, internet connection even worse. So let's stop thinking, you know, of the low-hanging fruits and stop thinking about ourselves and how easily we can get into business and we can, you know, make businesses with people and start thinking of making real impact with the real people that are facing these challenges. And, you know, even in rough times like this, you know, people still don't understand COVID. And really, I don't see how an app would you know, reach out to that Bibi or Babu in the village and tell them about COVID, right? So let's, you know, crack our heads more, and let's not we should stop thinking of Tanzania. Look beyond, look at what other people are already doing across Africa, because you see, we have similar setups in, in the continent. You go to Ghana, in the villages, the people are probably facing the same issue that the villagers in Tanzania, in Iringa, in Mbeya are facing. So let's not bound ourselves to, what we can access, and, let's open up more, crack our heads more into, what we can be able to provide for our communities. And it's not a crime to reinvent the wheel, as opposed to, creating something like completely new. Because a lot of people are actually scared of saying, oh, I'm making a solution that is similar in Kenya, but you can actually make it to fit into the local context. You see, as long as it's tweaked a little bit to serve the community in Arusha Vijijini, I mean, it's to me already it's innovation. It's something that you can own up to it, and you don't have to now come up with a new Facebook for Africa, or come up with whatever big idea that you could potentially think of. So in times like this, we think quickly and already see what other people are doing. What can we do locally? Not try to complicate things, but try to reach out to a majority of the population that is still not being reached currently. But otherwise, generally, thank you so much for coming up with all these amazing pictures and ideas, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you, Mariam. Christoph, Karibu.
Thank you. Well, I think a lot has been said. Maybe one thing, I was actually really impressed by almost all of the pitches. And you could really tell that you are the top 10 out of like 200. So you're all really good. And also, well, not everyone can win, obviously. But here, I think, especially in this competition, whatever the results are that will be communicated in a couple of days down the road, keep in mind, this is really a COVID challenge, right? So it is not only an overall judgment of how fit your startup is, but also very specifically of how it can address the challenge in a very quick manner that we're facing today, right? So just keep that in mind. And for the rest, I was really impressed actually with most of the pitches here. So it was really good and high quality. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you so much, judges, for your very, very nice concluding remarks. As we conclude this, I would like to welcome our country director, Joseph Manirakiza, to come and give his remarks also.
Thanks, Simon. Okay, sorry. Yeah, I think I can't put it much better than how the judges have put it already. Maybe just to repeat the words that Naomi has used, travel and meet people. I think that's a very powerful closing statement from a judge who has listened to all the pitches. And that's actually what I would like to invite everyone to go home with, that we should be able to innovate for people that we're trying to impact. That's great. Now, quickly as to what's going to come next, I think Simon has already mentioned that we're going to announce the results on 8th of June. That's a thing that will be make it Monday. So that's great. And I would like to thank you, all the judges, for taking your time for actually turning up to this opportunity for at the very, very short notice. And we know that you are quite busy at the moment, but thank you for making it happen. And thank you to all the participants, especially the innovators and the pitchers who actually made it very, not a very easy job to select, but really they came up with a strong and compelling innovation that's made it through from the panel of 203. And thank you all the participants, all the attendees who actually came to see what's out there. And that was basically the aim of the challenge. It wasn't about the winning, it's not a competition, as I mentioned before. It's basically to be able to showcase what is being done within the innovation ecosystem in Tanzania and invite other partners to actually see it, because we've heard of partners who say they have some funding, but they cannot see what to support. So this is now an opportunity for them actually to see what's happening out there. And maybe just to apologize to many other persons who would have loved to join, but for some reason we had subscribed for more participants up to 500, but I don't know what happened with Zoom, so we're just limited to 100. So many people were just kicked out. We're going to sort it out, so next time it won't happen, definitely. Just a way forward. One, we had already mentioned that the kind of awards which are coming only as incentives, HDIF had planned to award up to 3, I mean, it would be depending on how much the judges are going to come up with, but it's up to 30 million per one of the best innovations that are going to come out. But we also got other partners who joined as very short notice again. Shout out to Seed Space, who have provided an award, I mean, in-kind kind of award for the top 5 innovations to have access to their investment readiness program, and also to be able to use the co-working space for up to 2 months. So that's quite appreciated. And I also want to thank Ifakara Health Institute through the Ifakara Innovation Hub, the only hub which is in the raw area at the moment, who have also come on board to add an additional award, financial award, to one of the innovations that they are going to select, to make it up to, that's up to 23 million shillings. So that's quite great. So right now we are working with other partners who have expressed interest in joining us in actually pushing this forward, because they see this is a very good platform to actually put to the fore the innovation that are happening in Tanzania, and they can be able to support. So we are going to give you more details very soon on what the next challenge is going to be about and who are going to be working with. But much is coming. We did this more of as a pilot to see what can happen out there. And we, as I mentioned at the beginning, would have loved to host as many innovations as possible, because we actually got quite a number that were very good, but we could only accommodate 10. So what we are offering right now, we are going to create a platform. Simon can talk through that just quickly, where those who wish can be able to record their pitches and then upload their innovation on that Flipgrid, which we are going to avail to our partners who would like to, who are probably developing some of the programs that could work with these innovations. So this is another platform that can actually be able to put you in front of people who actually want to support the innovation that's happening in Tanzania. It's not like a month, but we are going to be curating what comes on that platform. Not everything is going to be allowed unless you meet some of the criteria, but we would like to accommodate as many as possible. So other than that, once again, thank you, and we'll be getting back to you for the next challenge. Simon, back to you.
Thank you so much, Joseph. Thank you so much for the judges. Thank you so much for all those who have pitched today. Like Joseph said, the Flipgrid that you're looking at is a platform that we've set up to allow you to pitch to all the other partners that are interested to see what innovations we collected. We had 203, we shortlisted 10, and we are going to award, like Joseph said, a few of those. But use this opportunity, upload a 2 minutes of video pitch about what you're doing and what solution you're doing, and then it will be featured on our website. But also we share to development partners and any other partner who is interested to support COVID-19 related solutions. So this brings me to the last part of this, which is everybody's wondering, when are we going to get the results? And so by the 8th of June, you'll be able to, we will announce on our website and on social media channels. The website URL is hdif-tz.org/COVID-19 challenge. So keep that in mind and check out on the 8th before the close of business on that day. So from me, thank you so much. It's been a great crowd. We've not gone below 70 participants, which is amazing. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, the judges. And yes, have a nice evening. Jioni njema to everybody.
Bye-bye.
Santeni.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anthony, thank you.